Welcome back to Be Zen with Britt. I'm your host, Britt Madrid Mogensen, and tonight we're going to talk about hormones because this is something that we just don't talk about enough. If you are one of the millions of women who feel burnt out, exhausted, stressed, like your life is a bit of a roller coaster, there are times where you'll commit to something at one time of the month, and when it comes time to actually follow through on that task at a different time of the month, it just feels like an uphill battle. And it's because we're not the same from day to day. We follow what's called an infradian rhythm, which is based on a 28-day cycle. And these hormones affect everything. I mean, our metabolism, our mood, what we're supposed to be eating, and even, yes, when we're supposed to be doing different tasks. So enter Alisa Vitti. She is an expert in this field, and she's going to help us figure out how to take control of our lives and plan according to our unique infradian rhythm. Alisa is the founder and CEO of Flo Living. She's also the best-selling author of Woman Code and In the Flo, and the creator of the cycle syncing method. She also has invented the My Flow period app that we're going to be getting a pretty amazing discount code for. So without further ado, let's get into this conversation. Well, Alisa, I am so excited that you're here joining us. Your work is truly life-changing, revolutionary, and I can't wait for you to share all of your wisdom with our viewers. So thank you for being here.
I've been working in women's hormonal health for the past 25 years. And, you know, after writing my first book, I thought, okay, great. Now we have the plan to kind of get ourselves back on track hormonally. That first book is called Woman Code. But I started to really look and see, well, why is it that so many more women are suffering compared to men with hormonal problems? What are we missing? What's the blind spot? Because we're all living with the same exposure to endocrine disruptive chemicals or, food that's not ideal, stress. Why is it so hard for women to really maintain this level of hormonal balance? And that's when I started digging into the research, and I uncovered this second biological clock called the infradian rhythm. And it's something that every woman needs to know about that she has. It's activated at puberty and it ends at menopause, right?
Okay.
So it's governing your life for a good 4 decades. And we experience it, as you alluded to, over a 28-day cycle. We experience our circadian clock over a 24-hour cycle. It just so happens that men's hormonal patterns follow a 24-hour clock. Their hormonal patterns are circadian driven, and our hormonal patterns are infradian driven.
Well, and in your book, you actually talk about like the way that, when men wake up in the morning, that's when they're like raring to go. Will you take us through that? Because I feel like a lot of women like watching are going to be like, oh, that makes so much sense why my husband or boyfriend does seem to be on this very particular like rhythm.
Yeah, so men make all their testosterone while they're sleeping, let's say from 10 p.m. to 6 a.m. They wake up with a nice burst of cortisol and testosterone, and they're ready to get up early in the morning and do a workout
They're
and,
amped.
get up and go, or whatever other activities they might want to get up to first thing in the morning. They have the energy to do that, physical energy. And then they have still that energy to get into their work. After about 2, 3 o'clock in the afternoon, testosterone and cortisol starts to decrease in concentration for them in their brain and their bodies. And they start to become more sensitive to the estrogen that they have circulating, because men have it too, just less, a lot less. And so that makes them interested in socializing a bit more. So if you notice like happy hour, networking events, all of those things about connecting with other people, that really is aligned with what's happening hormonally for men at that time. And then around 8 o'clock, they need to go into the man cave. They need to wind down. Their hormones are at their lowest level, and they need to go to bed so they can make their hormones for the next day. So their whole life is really supported by, kind of the experience we have in corporate culture. It follows that get up early, do your work in the morning, work out in the morning, socialize in the afternoon, get to bed early. That rinse and repeat really supports male hormonal patterns. And it's why they don't struggle as much with hormones compared to women, because the world is set up to support that hormonal clock that they have. And ours is on a different time altogether.
Wow, and honestly, Elisa, it's such a relief to, like, have this information right in front of our faces because 'cause we've been living it, right? We've been living this our whole lives as women, but it's like when you see it on the page, when you actually become more conscious of it, it really does help, I don't know, it, like, uplifts your spirit. I can't tell you how many conversations I've had with my girlfriends where we're like, man, I just can't be consistent, you know? I'm so frustrated. I was really doing great with staying organized and being on my workout schedule. And then, the week of my period, I just fell off and I just can't get it together. These internalized, like, negative things that we have about ourselves because we don't fully embrace the fact that we're just not wired that way. And so tell us now, please, about how we are wired and how our ideal arc of the month works and how our energy really does flow.
Yeah, and I can't underscore enough that sentiment that you and your girlfriends experience, that sort of negative
Yeah.
emotional state that we create just because we're trying to squeeze ourselves into this 24-hour clock and try to
Mhm.
be the same every day.
Right.
It's absolutely illogical and impossible for you to be the same every day because your hormones are changing week over week. I mean, back in 1997, a researcher at Northwestern University identified that the female brain changes up to 25% over the course of the month due to the changing levels of hormones. A recent study actually shows
Wow.
structural changes in the brain. So it's not just chemical changes. Now we can see
Oh,
structural changes in the brain across the cycle. You are a different creature
makes
each phase
sense.
of your cycle. So to try to be the same,
Mhm.
it's fighting against your flow, right? The flow of your sort of energy. And how it's supposed to go is you have these four phases, right? You have the follicular phase, the ovulatory phase, the luteal phase, which is that phase that so many of us think is terrible, but it shouldn't be. And
Yeah.
then we'll help you with that.
Thank you.
And then the menstrual phase, the bleeding phase. So
Mhm.
these four phases have unique hormonal ratios of estrogen, progesterone. Sometimes there's no progesterone, depends on which phase you're in.
Mhm.
And how you're supposed to feel is in the follicular phase, you have uh, slightly rising levels of estrogen, which stimulate the brain into being interested in new things, into planning things out. Your energy is kind of coming back online after your period. Then you're in
Mhm.
your ovulatory phase. You have a super surge of estrogen, follicular stimulating hormone, luteinizing hormone. This supercharges your brain actually to be extremely verbal and social. So you're feeling more outgoing and extroverted naturally at this time.
Mhm.
Then in the luteal phase, progesterone comes into the picture. My favorite hormone and my favorite phase of the month, 10 to 12 days long. It
Okay. I'm so excited that you love it.
I love it so
You're
much.
gonna
It's my
help us love it.
Well, and if any of you are listening have ever been pregnant, you think back to your second trimester. Your second trimester is when you have like the most progesterone and you feel the best during your pregnancy. You're nesting, you're getting things done, you're so like on top of it. And it's because progesterone has this focusing, calming effect on the brain. And if your progesterone levels are healthy, which you would know if you have absolutely no PMS. PMS is a sign of hormonal imbalance in the luteal phase, which means you don't have enough progesterone, and that's fixable with diet and lifestyle. If
Wow.
you have no PMS, which you should not have any, then you're going to feel like you're unstoppable. This is when I schedule all my deep work. I write, I research, I carve out time to get things done. And then in the menstrual phase, hormone levels are at their lowest, but
Mhm.
this actually facilitates the biggest connection between the right and left hemispheres of your brain, which
Mhm.
means you can actually process more how you feel about the things that are happening in your life and evaluate where you want to go next. It's like every month when you're bleeding because of what's happening in your brain, it's like you can make your new year's resolutions, except you can do it every month and really start to gear your life more intentionally forward in the direction of your dreams. So your hormonal shifts
Wow.
happen over the course of the month, but they give you unlimited superpowers. But if you
Mhm.
don't know about it, you're fighting against it, trying to squeeze yourself into that 24-hour clock, trying to be the same every day, wasting
Mhm.
a lot of energy,
Yes.
feeling bad about yourself, thinking that you're not being consistent when in fact you're just focusing on the wrong things. And to make matters worse, because you're not living in alignment with these hormonal patterns and taking care of them properly, now we're starting to have hormone problems, right? PMS crops up, period problems get worse, and you're more and more behind the eight ball when you just don't have to be. You can really
True.
start to trust the intuition of your body by leading into these different phases and not distrusting yourself. Keep in mind, however, that you've been conditioned from a cultural narrative to be distrustful of your female body, distrustful of your menstrual cycle, to
Mhm.
to to actually gaslight yourself. Oh, you know, these feelings aren't real because I'm, premenstrual or I'm on my period and I can't take myself seriously. I would argue the thoughts and feelings you're having in the second half of the cycle are your deep intuition and inner wisdom speaking to you loud and clear without the softening effects of estrogen, which makes you more social, smooths things over, you're able to really focus
Mhm.
in on what it is that you need and want. And women who are going through perimenopause will tell you, as their estrogen is decreasing, they get crystal clear about what's working for them, what's not, and they feel more comfortable and confident to speak their truth because of what's happening hormonally. So you get that every second half of the month, and don't fight it. Listen, journal about it, meditate on what your body's telling you, and follow those instincts.
Oh my gosh, I love this so much. This is amazing. And also that makes me feel like perimenopause is something cool to look forward to because it's like we're really coming into our own even hormonally. Like that is amazing. It's fascinating.
Every
So,
every every phase of your life, every hormonal phase is full of its own gifts, and it's really just about aligning with what's happening instead of fighting it. And I think that's the big
mhm,
takeaway message is, listen, we're women, we have specific hormonal patterns at different stages of our lives. What we have to do is really support that. It's really about accepting how the function of your body works and really working with it at every stage. And then you get the benefits of feeling your best, having your best thinking, living your best life because your body and your health and your hormones are that foundation for that.
I'm so in. We're so ready for this. So, Elisa, will you take us through like an exercise of what it would look like if we decided, all right, we're going to be in the flow this month. Let's just see what that would look like.
So, this is where we get into that method I mentioned before that I created to support your infradian rhythm called the cycle syncing method. And this is really has three pillars: your food, your fitness, and your, let's say, productivity.
Okay.
So you are going to be shifting the types of foods you're eating, the calorie amounts, the workout type and intensity, and some of the things you're working on to align with all these wonderful things happening in your body. So let's start with food because that's the biggest pillar. And what you need to understand is because of this infradian effect on your body, right? It doesn't just affect your menstrual cycle, it also affects other systems of the body, one of them being your metabolic system. So,
Okay.
in the first half of your cycle, your metabolism is slightly slower than the other half of the cycle.
Wow.
And in after ovulation, your metabolism speeds up. Why does it speed up? Well, because you have to 3D print a special organ every month called the endometrial lining, right? That
Wow.
lining, it's like no big deal. You just make that out of the food you
We're
eat. But in order to,
amazing. No
you're
big deal.
amazing, you know, and
Yeah.
and to do that, your body has to work more efficiently so that your metabolism speeds up to extract nutrients faster to be able to do that. In
Okay.
the first half, you're not doing that. So you don't need as many, you don't have to be as efficient. So you can eat fewer calories in the first half of the cycle, follicular and ovulatory phases, and you can eat lighter foods and even more raw foods in the ovulatory phase specifically because of all that super surge of estrogen. Eating like smoothies and salads and things of that nature are really going to help your body break down that estrogen.
Okay.
Then, when you get into the luteal phase, again, metabolism speeds up. You need 279 more calories per day, according to research. So, you want to have more slow burning carbohydrates. Like, for example, for breakfast in the ovulatory phase, I might start off with a protein smoothie. But in the luteal
Mhm.
phase, I'm having something like, eggs with some smoked salmon on a sweet potato with some vegetables, right?
Okay.
And this way, I'm having proteins, carbohydrates, good fats, but they're slow burning carbohydrates that don't mess with my blood sugar. And then for lunch during the luteal phase, I'll have some brown rice and some veggies and some, protein and fats, and for dinner as well. So keeping your blood sugar stable, but eating a good amount of food throughout the day. How do you know you're eating the right amount of food in the luteal phase? Well, it's a little easy trick. At the end of the day, you have to check yourself. Did you end up like in a trance eating an entire sleeve of cookies or an entire bag of chips? If that happens to you in the luteal phase, it means you just haven't eaten enough calories for that metabolic shift. And you got to
Okay.
be strategic, and you got to eat proactively more calories. Any binge eating in the luteal phase means you haven't given yourself enough calories earlier in the day. And
Wow. Oh my
yeah,
gosh. Yes. I totally do that. Okay.
yeah,
Cool.
and a lot of us do because we're just not eating right. We try, again, because we're conditioned to try to be the same every day. We think, no, 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 I'm going to still have my smoothie. I'm going to still have my salad. We're so worried about weight gain. But the
Right.
reality is, if you don't eat enough calories as your metabolism speeds up in this luteal phase, your body's going to go into fat storage mode. Now,
Mm.
I'm someone who used to suffer from polycystic ovarian syndrome. I've maintained a 70-pound weight loss for 20 something years just by making sure I align with my metabolic shifts with my food and my fitness.
Wow.
So it's really powerful. If you're worried about the weight, don't be. It's going to stabilize out when you start to take care of your hormones, because that's what your body's job is to do.
Mhm.
So that's the luteal phase. The menstrual phase, you're going to eat more warming foods, soups and stews, more animal protein. In the summertime, when it's too hot for soups and stews, you can have a burger. You can have things that are
Okay.
like red meat, because studies
Mhm.
show we're actually slightly deficient in certain vitamins and minerals when we're menstruating. So we need to balance that out.
Mhm.
So that's the food piece. The exercise piece follows a similar pattern. In the first half of your cycle, because resting cortisol levels are lower, you can and should do cardio, hit workouts, all the things you're used to when you think about working out.
Right.
In the second half of the cycle, stay away from the hit workouts. Studies show that turns on fat storage and turns on muscle wasting. You
Oh.
want to just focus on strength training. Now, you want to focus on strength training every day of the cycle, but I'm talking specifically about cardio. In the first half, follicular ovulatory, go hard on the cardio. In the second half, just stick to steps, right? Do your steps. That kind of a thing is great. Luteal and menstrual, get your 10,000 steps in, but stay away from the like hit workouts in the second half. Again, just because we want to work with what's happening with our hormones, and we don't want to trigger that fat storage and that muscle wasting. So build your muscle with your strength training, but lighten up on the cardio. And the results are
Okay.
incredible. So you get more done with
Mhm.
less effort in terms of your fitness goals. And it's just so much easier. And you don't feel like you're dragging yourself through your workouts. From a productivity point of view, again, you want to use the first phase of the cycle, the follicular phase, to plan out all the things you want to do, right? For your career, for your social life, for your family. What are you going to get to this month? What do you want to accomplish?
Mhm.
In the ovulatory phase, try to plan social forward things. Go to networking events,
Mhm.
make a presentation, ask for a raise, go on a first date, take your kids to a play date with other moms, like whatever it is that's social for you,
Mhm.
plan that during that ovulatory phase. Then when you get to the luteal phase, plan to spend time doing the things that you really want to get to, right? Maybe it's organizing your closet. Maybe it's organizing your bills. Maybe it's getting started on that business you want to get started on. Spend the time doing the deep work in the luteal phase. Remember, it's the longest phase of the cycle, 10 to 12 days. And nature wants you to have plenty of time to go in and take care of yourself, right?
Mhm.
And then in the menstrual phase, evaluate. This is your time to reflect and course correct. How did this month go in the big areas of your life? Self-care, social, career, and family. Are you moving in alignment with your vision for those four areas of your life? If yes, keep making your plan for next month. If no, what can you shift? How can you change your plan? And then, of course, you get to your next follicular phase and you're ready to start that new plan, whatever that may be. So you start to move in this spiral like way, always moving forward and up, Instead of in a straight line, trying to be the same every day, we're kind of making this rotation, always moving forward. And just like a wheel turns faster than pushing, let's say, a hockey puck across a floor, you're going to get farther and faster with your dreams by aligning with what's happening in your brain and in your body. Give yourself permission
Mhm.
to just do the things that feel good. And I think
Yeah.
that's the biggest thing that most women report to me is they feel like because they know where they are in their cycle phases, that they can say no when somebody asks them to do something that they'd rather not do because it's out of alignment with their phase. They feel like they can give themselves that permission to say, you know what? They may not have to explain it to the other person, but they say to themselves, you know what? I'm in my late luteal phase. I really need to rest right now and not go
Mhm.
to this networking event. Like, it's okay for me to miss it. I don't have to have FOMO today.
So I have a little question for you then. Let's say, okay, I'll use myself as an example. My really good friend is getting married and we are going on a girls' trip to celebrate her. And it's happening during that part right between like I'll be luteal, then menstrual. Not ideal, right? And it's like a big group of girls. We're going to be having fun. And I want to be able to be present and be a part of that fun and support her. Are there, like, supplements or different things that I can do to try to just push myself in that direction when you sometimes kinda have to?
Absolutely.
Okay,
So, what you want to do is recognize that you're absolutely right. Sometimes you got to be out of sync with
right.
what is aligned for your phase. And that happens all the time. The
Mhm.
secret is to support yourself with some extra self care, right?
Okay.
So, for you in that situation, a month before, I would make sure you're taking really good care of yourself, making sure you are aligning with your cycle as much as you can the month before so that you know you have no PMS at all the month before you go and you have a healthy, easy cycle. That's going to be a beautiful foundation. It means you're very balanced, full of the right nutrients, and everything is going well. So your
Mhm,
body can absorb the impact of the stress of being out and about,
mhm.
socializing, having a girls' weekend or more during this suboptimal time in your cycle, right? When you'd rather be, let's say, resting. So
Right.
then you want to take really good supplements like B vitamins and magnesium to help you deal with the stress. Vitamin C also helps you deal with the little stress impact. You want to make sure you're eating very consistently throughout the weekend. So every 3 hours, make sure you're having a really nice snack or small meal that has blood sugar stabilizing, macros. So good proteins, fats, slow burning carbohydrates.
Okay.
If you are drinking alcohol, every time you have a drink, have a big glass of water and pace yourself. You may just actually have to say to yourself, I'm not going to drink as much as everybody else. And then when you
Yes.
can, duck out a little bit here and there for a rest, right? You can
Mhm.
pull away for 15 minutes and go just chill, or you can leave a little early in the night and take a little earlier sleep than other friends, right? You can find ways to just take a few extra moments for yourself so that for the vast majority of the time you can be present and socializing with everybody, but you are just carving out a little extra space for your self-care. So yeah, some supplements,
Love it.
strategic thoughts about the drinking,
Mhm.
eating really blood sugar stabilizing meals, and stealing some moments of rest will be the great way. And then of course, when you get home, back to the cycle syncing routine for the next month to reset.
I love it. Look at us taking care of ourselves. So, everybody who is listening and watching that wants to also undergo this transformation, they can also go to your website, flowliving.com, and you have all kinds of resources because, we can't just do this ourselves. I feel like when you're making a big life change, you need that support. And you also have offered us, this is so exciting, 1 free month of the MyFlow app when everybody uses the code BZENTV. And we'll put that up here with a QR code on screen, you guys. This is just the ultimate cycle syncing tool.
So, I mean, obviously, I don't expect you all to just be able to keep all of these different pieces of
Mhm.
information about the four phases in mind. It can be
Right.
overwhelming, right? So, I
Yes.
built an app
Thank you for the app.
so that you just put in your period coordinates and then it will
Mhm.
tell you which phase you're in. And then it will give you recipes, meal plans, You can even plug in what you have in your pantry and it will tell you what to eat for that phase of your cycle. There are workout videos for each phase of your cycle so that you don't have to think about this at all. There's even a productivity planner so that you can really stay on point with being in the flow of your cyclical biology. So it's all there in the MyFlow app. It has the same circle icon as my book, In the Flo, which I think is another great resource. Oh, I
I
love all.
forgot to say the book that like
I
what
love
we
all
all
the
read.
dog ears.
Oh, girl, I'm
I see that a
obsessed.
lot. That
I
means a
love it.
lot. I love that. And if you're having period issues, let's say you have PCOS like I used to have, and you don't have a regular cycle and you're not sure how you're going to start cycle syncing because you're dealing with some cycle irregularity or fibroids, or you're dealing with infertility or perimenopause, and
Mhm.
you need some additional support, we have telehealth coaching. So there's a lot of support you can have. You don't have to figure it out on your own. I've built the ultimate platform for your hormonal well-being at flowliving.com.
Oh my gosh, I love it. I'm so excited to start living in the flow. Thank you, Alisa, for joining us. This has been so informative.
I'm so glad to share this with you all, and thank you for having me.
That's a wrap on tonight's show. I hope you guys are feeling inspired and ready to start living your life in accordance with your own unique rhythm. You deserve it. So let's do it together. Before we go, I have a quick PSA. If you are someone who is really tired of seeing the constant cries for help from overcrowding shelters, overcrowding rescues, it is truly so tragic that most people have to tune out. I personally would love to see this stop. I would love to see some things change and for us to be able to better support the homeless animals in our community so that we can stop the tragedy. If you guys want to get involved in that, join me at the Humane Lobby Day with the Texas Humane Legislation Network coming up on March 25th. This is an event in Austin, and it's going to be going on from 9 a.m. to 3 p.m. Use that QR code on screen. Sign up. It's going to be really fun. We're going to learn a lot. Texas lawmakers actually meet at the Capitol every 2 years to draft and pass laws directly impacting the state. This year, though, we have so many more legislators that are new than in previous years. And so this is an opportunity for us to speak with them, to connect with them directly. And Texas Humane Legislation Network is going to show us how to do that in the proper way. So this is going to be a really amazing experience if you've ever wanted to get involved and create real change in the community and share your voice, then this is the event for you. I'm so excited. I hope you'll join me. And if you'd like to help animals right here in our community, be sure that you go to bdallas90.org to learn more about how you can foster, volunteer, adopt, or get involved in other ways. This was so much fun. I hope that you remember to be kind to yourself, be zen, and I will see you on April 3rd for our standing monthly date right here on WFAA. Are you a fan of pop culture and astrology? Then be sure to check out my podcast, In the Cards and Stars. We spill all the cosmic tea on your favorite celebrities, delivering your weekly celestial gossip fix. You can find the podcast on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and on the Brit Madrid YouTube channel.